Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Story about another squabble between neighbors over a river that runs near their property. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Simple request to the attendant. Will you test my battery for me? We used to have a 2004 Kia Sedona van. At this point, it was over 10 years old with over 100,000 miles on it. It was geriatric, but it was our only vehicle, so what could we do? One day, the car won't turn over. We had recently, bought a new battery from the big box mart store. You know what I mean. New batteries come with a warranty of either 6 months or a year. Whatever it was, we were right inside of it. It's a Sunday, and my husband's due at swing shift the next afternoon for the IRS, something he definitely cannot miss. So he gets the battery out, puts it in a bag, and helps me load it into my carry-on suitcase. Why? I had a bus pass from college, and I could ride for free. The closest store with the Tire Lube Express Center was about 5 miles away if you drove, but because it's a bus, it'll take me about 20 minutes to get down there. I asked my driver to drop me off on the north side of the light, courtesy stop, so I'm not forced to walk far to get into the store. It was off the main road a bit, which isn't so bad when you're in a car, but it's a lot when you're pulling a suitcase in the heat with a heavy battery the same size as one for a truck. He said no and pulls up to the main stop, which adds a half a mile of walking to my trip. I ain't never had a courtesy stop denied unless it was a safety concern, like the driver would be impeding traffic. I get that, but this had me frustrated. I'm a big chick with genetically cursed knees, the reason I'm big, so walking is more difficult for me. So it's hot, the suitcase helped with some of the weight, thank you physics and leverage, but I'm sore and salty by the time I make it all the way into the back of the store, having been checked by employees 3 times because I'm wheeling in a suitcase before I even made it into the back. Simple request to the attendant. Will you test my battery for me? Attendant tests it and it comes back fine. Nothing wrong with it, so it doesn't warrant a replacement. Well, obviously there's something wrong or my van would at least click when I tried to start it. I got nothing at all. Sorry, my equipment says it's fine. Whatever, I'm ready to be done. The tire place closes in less than an hour and I had to time it perfectly to get my bus home and all the walking involved. Thankfully, the return stop was closer, but I didn't know that at the time. What else could I do? Me to the attendant. Well, could you just put it on the charger for me then? Attendant, it won't be fully charged by the time we close. Me, that's fine, understanding my alternator could take care of the rest of it. I'm not a helpless chick when it came to cars. So she throws it on the charger and I sit down in the designated waiting area so I won't miss her when she comes back out. It happened before and I lost a tire that way. Long story. About 15 minutes later, she comes out with my battery, which I thought was odd because they're now T-minus 10 minutes to closing. Attendant, to me. So I put your battery on the charger and the charger won't connect to it. Me. What does that mean? I know enough about cars, not electronics and battery power storage. Attendant, it means I can't charge your battery for you today. I am beyond frustrated knowing that my van takes a truck-sized battery and was therefore at least $135 for the cheapest one they had in stock. Thankfully, my ADHD makes my brain run mega fast and it helped me out for a change. Me to attendant. Why does your machine fail to connect to a battery? What are the reasons? Attendant. It's either the leads on the machine, which we checked, or the battery itself. I'm sorry. Me. So does that mean my battery is faulty? Attendant doesn't say anything. Me. Logically, despite what your first machine said, my battery not being able to charge means it's faulty. And as I'm in warranty, I'm due a replacement, right? With a huff and an obvious eye roll, the attendant tells me she'll be right back. And by about 5 minutes after closing, she's helping me pack a new battery into my suitcase in time to get me to the next bus back home. The attendant warns me that the warranty exists from the original battery's purchase date. The new battery had a sticker on it that stated it was purchased several months later. The attendant said this was in order to comply with state law and notify us of possible recalls. Within 2 months, we'd moved to the opposite side of the country, and our battery is freaking out again. We take it to a different mart, now with a new car to assist us, and they don't question the sticker despite our original warranty having expired already. We got 3 batteries for the cost of 1. Also, the attendant at that store, fully disclosing that he was about to quit, told me that the original battery was just such crap. Get what you pay for, I guess. He, being the manager of this particular store's lube center, authorized everyone that brought in that type of battery would get a better quality battery replacement instead. If my old battery was a 2 of 5, this new one's a 4 of 5. It lasted until my van went into the scrapper. Rest in peace, old girl. OMG, an honest salesman. You just got lucky. And our second story. I'm your new manager and you won't listen to me? No, I really won't. So I had a coworker with whom I had problems because he tried to manage me, although he had no right to do so. Let's call him Mark. Unfortunately, a few months after my accident, I was moved to a different department. One of the pneumatic doors bugged out due to the faulty sensor and slammed shut on my hand. I should mention I had the machine in setup mode, which should have stopped that from happening. But that's why it's so important to lock out a machine when there's a sensor or an electrical issue in those machines. Anyway, Mark tried to pin the blame on me and accuse me of being cautious. My new department dealt almost exclusively with lead products, while I'd mostly worked with steel and lead-free products before then. Turns out I'm pretty allergic to being absolutely covered in lead dust, so I was told they couldn't risk having me in the department anymore and let me go. Nepotism. Mark's dad was head of the foundry for the better part of 30 years, and while he didn't have quite as much pull as the owners, he was well-liked and most people treated his word as law. So Mark was given a job straight out of high school, and he'd never worked anywhere else. His dad covered for him at every opportunity until the day he retired, then his friends continued the trend. There was one incident where Mark took a hammer to a vending machine and the plant manager brought in a new one without so much as a harsh look in Mark's direction. There was a whole mess surrounding my leaving that ended with the plant manager, Mark, lying to a judge about why I left. They tried to say I was a bad employee who didn't deserve my unemployment wages, which ultimately led to a trial, which I won. Now, most of this information comes from a few of my friends that still worked at the factory, but I know it's true because it made it into the local papers. The plant manager, the one who'd been protecting Mark, had his power severely stripped after the crap storm with the judge settled. He had an assistant plant manager assigned to help him manage his workload, which is a fancy way of saying they tasked someone with watching him. Because his biggest backer was essentially taken out of the picture, Mark didn't enjoy the same leeway he did with me. In fact, it seemed the new plant manager really didn't like Mark. So when Mark pushed another guy a little too far one day and he had a hammer wrench chucked at his head hard enough to shatter a window, the thrower was just written up for breaking the window instead of fired or arrested for assault. About 8 months after I left, the plant manager who'd been protecting Mark was let go by the company, and for good reason. He'd had the plant making parts they didn't even have orders for, and for those who don't know, at the end of the year when it's time to report the earnings and inventory to the IRS, you actually have to pay for the inventory you have on hand, presumably as estimated income since it's assumed you had orders for them. They had 10 30-foot-tall, 40-foot-wide shelves of baskets of parts ready to be sold, and not a one of them had an order code assigned to them. So the plant manager was gone after that blunder. An intelligent person would have realized after that it was time to stop being an a-hole to people and that they were well and truly alone in the factory. But not Mark. He didn't learn a damn thing. Despite hammer wrenches being thrown at him, his tires mysteriously going flat 5 times in a month, and pretty much everyone in the factory hated his guts, so after another screw-up related to racism, he was finally fired. He applied to several other management positions in the local area, but he'd burned a crap ton of bridges during his life, and no one would hire him. Mark now works as a food vendor at a traveling carnival. I still see him once a year when the carnival comes to town, and he scowls at me every time like I personally ruined his life. That looks the only reason I still go to that carnival. And our next story. Neighbor attempted to redirect a stream not on her property and is affecting the water table for the whole neighborhood. There's a stream that comes down the mountain across most of my neighbor's property, and we all use it for our water. I've got a wellhead next to it on my land, and so does pretty much every neighbor below us. The house above us was recently left to a niece or someone after the owner passed away. Since she's taken over the home, she's made a lot of lovely improvements and turned it into an Airbnb. Owner-unoccupied Airbnbs are considered a business, and we're not zoned for it, but I honestly couldn't care less. That's between her and our POA president. She's advertising that her property has a stream. However, the stream is at least 20 feet from the property line on her neighbor's side. Sometime in the renovations, the crew she hired to clear trees and beautify the property filled the stream with brush, trash, old leftover concrete. It was the ugliest attempt to redirect it onto her property. What this has done is lower the water volume in our portion of the stream to where it almost ruined our water heater, and I need a new water pressure tank. The water from the upper stream is now pooling and creating branches that, if left to do as they will destroy the road between us, which is what our POA pays for, and will likely run to the back of our house. Yesterday, my husband and father-in-law walked the stream up to see what was happening because we can't see the destruction from our property, just that our once abundant stream is almost at a trickle. They cleared a bunch of brush and garbage out of the stream and dug it out a little deeper since the pooling weakened the banks. Our stream's now a little better, but this is going to take a significant amount of time to fix, and it's not on our property. It's also not on hers. It belongs to neighbors who have several acres and haven't noticed this happening yet. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.